What is up, everyone? My name is Dylan Nellis. I'm a college consultant and an undergraduate at Stanford University, and today we're going to be talking about prestige in college admissions. What defines a prestigious or elite school, and what does that even mean? Should you apply to them? Should you not apply to them? And are they really worth it? There is a huge stigma right now in the United States about attending a prestigious or top-ranked university. A lot of families feel like this is the only way to go, the only route for their child's success, while other families don't even see that as an option. Today, I'm going to be demystifying a lot of these things and giving you some hard facts and statistics to back up what I'm saying. First things first, what you need to understand is that for colleges and universities, everything is a business. A college's whole goal is to increase the number of applicants that they have to their school, so that way they look popular and their admissions rates go down. Therefore, they seem selective or elite. Therefore, they can rank higher on the US news reportings. The meaning of selectivity of a school is really interesting, and it's not necessarily about the actual quality of education that they have at that school, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later. And a fun fact is that some schools send out so many marketing materials, and you might receive some marketing mail from a school even if you don't even have a chance of getting in, because that school still wants you to apply so that their admissions rates can go down and they seem more selective and they rank higher. Here's the problem when it comes to students and parents. A lot of students only apply to the schools that they have heard of before, and those schools are the ones that tend to be on the top rankings. Those schools also tend to be the ones that all their parents are pushing them to go towards. Everyone is wildly obsessed with the brand name colleges. Now, the problem is for a lot of students, these schools are such a reach for them academically. There are such slim chances of acceptance because everyone is trying to get into that school. There are so many well-qualified applicants that are applying to that school that they can't necessarily let in all of them. That's another thing to note if you end up getting a rejection. That doesn't mean that your application isn't strong or that your story doesn't matter. There are just so many well-qualified applicants who are applying to that school. Plus, the schools have their own agendas of what they're looking for, and I'm going to talk about that in another video because that's a whole other topic. Now, here's the really interesting fact. Even though only 20% of all the colleges in the United States are considered prestigious, these schools account for about 1/3 of all applications that are submitted. 1/3. These statistics that I just shared and a lot of others that I'm going to continue to share in this video are coming from this book by Jeffrey Selingo. It is called Who Gets In and Why, and it is super interesting and about the secrets of what actually goes on during the college admissions process. I recommend checking that book out. This is not an ad. I am just reading it and I think it's super interesting and I think you guys will benefit from it as well. So back to our real life scenario. Most students and parents go bonkers trying to apply and get into these schools. And they end up spending a ton of money on test prep and consulting services. But the interesting thing here is that for a lot of parents and students, especially those coming from upper and middle class families, they place a higher importance on the prestige than the affordability of the school. And they don't take in consideration the financial implications of what happens if their student actually gets in and if they choose to go to that school. So I'm going to share some really interesting information regarding financial aid and merit scholarships and comparing the options for students who come from upper and middle class families and low income families. And I'm going to be talking about the money that different schools are willing to give, the prestigious schools versus the not prestigious schools. So for top ranked colleges, the ones that are considered prestigious, the ones that are considered elite, these schools give financial aid largely based on need and not merit. This is because they already have so many students who they admit who can pay the full price, and they just have a lot of money. Plus, because it is a brand name school, there is a higher chance that a student who is admitted will end up committing to their school. So pretty much all your financial aid is need-based. Out of all these prestigious schools, only 7% of the financial aid is merit-based. So it is important to understand that these schools that have need-based aid do have cutoffs. For example, let's talk about what it is at Stanford. As of 2021, if your annual household income is less than $150,000, your tuition is free. And if your annual household income is below $75,000, your tuition is free and your room and board is free. This is something that I really want to make known to the low-income students who are watching watching this video. A lot of times students from low-income families believe that these kinds of schools are unattainable, not just because of their selectivity, but because of the affordability. When in reality, these are the types of schools that would be willing to pay for you to go there. Sticker price can definitely be deceiving, and you may think that you have to pay that, but that is not what you're gonna have to pay. For my personal experience, Stanford was the most affordable school. They gave me the best financial aid package than any other school that I applied and got accepted to. So it's really interesting that while selective colleges tend to offer the most financial aid for students of low-income backgrounds, only 7% of low-income students apply to these schools compared to 37% of high-income students. This statistic was found on InsideHigherEd.com. So this is a problem that I would like to address, and that is why with every purchase of my college essay course, one is also donated to a first-generation and low-income student. Because I believe that everyone should have access to the guidance and the strategy that is necessary for getting into these kinds of schools. So if you are a low-income student, you can fill out a scholarship application at the link in the description. Or if you are someone who can afford the course, I would highly recommend doing so to not only help yourself, but also help someone else. Now, if you are outside of those cutoffs and your parents do make more than $150,000 a year, for Stanford, yes, you would have to pay the sticker price, because these highly selective schools don't really offer merit scholarships. Okay, now let's talk about the other colleges, the ones that are not considered prestigious or highly selective. These schools are actually more willing to give out merit-based scholarships rather than need-based scholarships. About 1/3 of their financial aid is merit-based, which is like 33%, compared to 7% at the prestigious schools. This means that even if you don't qualify for need-based aid, you can still get financial aid and merit scholarships with your grades, your test scores, your activities, and your demonstration of leadership. Alright, so that was one piece of reality, the financial aspect of things, but now let me give you another. The fact of the matter is that prestige and the rankings does not necessarily dictate the quality of education at that school. Because prestige, which is defined by acceptance rates, are not measured by the quality of education at that school. It's not measured by the success of the students who went through all those 4 years. Instead, prestige is measured by the type of students that they admit, how competitive the applicants' profiles are now as a senior in high school, not after they have received the college's education. So that is something to really think about when considering these acceptance rates and whether that means something to you. Now, that is not to say that these schools aren't good or that their education is bad, because I'm not saying that at all. I go to Stanford and I think it is a fantastic school with top-notch educational opportunities. But the point I want to make is that you should not limit yourself to only the schools that you have heard of before. Just because all your friends or your parents are talking about these schools doesn't mean that it is the perfect fit for you. So when applying and choosing a school, it is very important to consider the quality of education that they offer in your specific fields of interest, the affordability of that school and how willing you are to get into student loan debt, and the selectivity of that school. Because if you're applying to a school that has a less than 10% acceptance rate, then you need to make sure that you are also applying to other schools that are safety schools or match schools, not just the reach schools. So then you can have confidence that there will be at least one school that you definitely will get accepted to. So how are you supposed to know what the quality of education even is at that school if you can't tell? If all of the colleges are saying it's fantastic, how do you really know if they're the right fit for you? Well, first you can look at statistics like graduation rates, the starting salaries of graduates of that school, basically the measures of success from students who have gone through all 4 years of that school. But what I think is way more important and way more insightful than that is talking with current students. And I don't just mean any current student who goes there. I mean current students who share similar backgrounds and interests as you. Because there's no universal university experience. Not everyone who goes to Stanford will be like, yes, it's all amazing, everything is perfect. It has its faults. All schools do. And people of different socioeconomic backgrounds, geographical locations, religions, sexualities, and genders will all have a vastly different experience. And I mean different experiences at the same institution. So here's a little anecdote. I was talking with my friend the other day, and she told me that when she went to go visit a very specific school when she was deciding where to go, she was paired to talk with a student who had none of the same interests as her and did not come from a similar background at all. and that person was raving about the school and saying how great it was and how my friend should go there. But then later on my friend's trip, she met someone else who did share a very similar financial situation and ethnic background as she did, and she had a completely different experience. That student was very honest with my friend and told her like, hey, I don't think that this is the school for you. I don't think that you will be happy here. And that student actually encouraged my friend to go somewhere else. Now, of course, that doesn't look so good for the school, who is literally trying to get all these students to commit to their school. But my friend really valued that student's honesty, because deep down, that student knew that my friend would have an unpleasant experience at that school. Of course, this is just one person's opinion, but I think it's important to get multiple opinions, and especially from students who come from the same backgrounds as you, as I've said. So the main takeaway from this video is that I want you to understand that not everything needs to be about prestige, because ultimately it's about choosing the school that is right for you. The college application process is all about you and your future, not anyone else's. So you want to choose the school that makes the most sense for you. If you are interested in a full step-by-step course to help you craft a successful college essay, I have all of the resources to do that in the link in the description, and I can also edit your essays. I offer an essay editing service and a consulting service if you would like to meet with me and discuss your ideas over Zoom. I wish you guys the best of luck with your college applications, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.